What's going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another episode of What's the Difference. This week, another awesome guest, a referral of friend of the show, Ryan Sullivan. We had Tim O'Neill on. Tim very recently won on the Champions Tour, so man, this was really cool to be able to sit down with him and have a conversation. So I hope you enjoy this. I feel really honored to be able to sit down with all these great guests. This episode, once again, was another good one. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of AJ Porter Golf and What's the Difference. This week, we're honored to have another great guest, Tim O'Neill, coming to us live from Savannah, Georgia. Is that where you are?
Yes, Savannah,
Yeah.
Georgia.
Cool. How's it going over there, Tim? How you doing, man?
It's good. Weather's good. It's getting close to Christmas time. Can't beat this weather right now. I actually could have on shorts right now if I wanted to. So I'm just getting some work in before the holidays because I'm probably going to take a few weeks off to the first of the year and then get ready for Hawaii.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So, kind of want to get right into it. I mean, you're fresh off your first Champions Tour win. I mean, I'm sure you're still probably soaking it in a little bit, but kind of talk us through that week, man, and what it was like.
Well, early in the throughout the year was struggling a little bit early in the year and was making some changes in the swing, and it takes a while when you're trying to do it, in season. And so I got off to a little bit of a slower start than I wanted to. And leading up to that tournament, it was the first playoff event. So I played well enough to get into the first playoff event. First playoff event is 70 76 players. And
Mm.
so I was in that tournament, and the next playoff event was 54 players advanced, and I was on 55. So I had to play decent,
Yeah.
to make it to the second playoff event. So my thought process was, um, I was trending in the right directions. I'd have been playing well, just making bogeys here and there, just need to clean up my card a little bit. So my mindset was to, just play a little bit more conservative and one shot at a time and not really think about the outcome. And lo and behold, man, I ended up winning the tournament.
Yeah, what do you think, is it just a matter of timing, or what do you really feel like the difference was in that particular week? The putts just dropped, you really stayed present. I mean, what if you could hone it down to a couple things, what do you think it is?
All the above, what you just said. I
Yeah,
mean, putts just dropped. But the main thing was really more mental than anything else. Is just really just staying present, because I was telling some of my buddies that know me well. I was like, I won the tournament, but during that week, I never thought about winning the golf tournament. That never crossed my
really.
mind, winning the golf tournament. So and my main focus was, I know it's cliche, but it was literally one shot at a time. Like, I teed off, I tried to hit the best shot I could. I went to the second shot and I tried to hit that shot the best I could, and so forth. And I never looked at a leaderboard. And I said, if I can stick to doing this, I think the outcome will be what I want. Didn't know if I was going to be good enough to win, but it turns out that I played well enough to get the win. And so that's kind of like my process moving forward is not getting ahead of yourself, and not thinking about what happened, if it was good or bad. It's literally just one shot at a time.
So are you doing anything away from the golf course to be able to get into that mindset? Because we had Scott Fawcett on our first ever episode. Actually, I think you and Scott know each other, and um,
Yeah.
one of his what we've been doing is building out a list of, these are the our most important things if you're going to be a professional, if you're going to be a college golfer or whatever else. What are the benchmarks? And his one was, I won't work with anybody if they don't meditate. So are you actively meditating? Are you doing anything to be able to get yourself to rein that in? Because I know personally, like, I can say one shot at a time, but like my mind can be ping ponging everywhere. So how'd you get there?
Well, that's something I've been working on anyway. And then some weeks it's better than others, where I can really be focused on really one shot at a time. The whole meditation thing, I never really thought about that. I don't even know how to meditate, to be honest. I don't know if that's
Really?
something you have to be taught, or learn how to do that. I don't know. Um, but that's something that maybe I need to look into that.
I
Because
know.
the mind is so strong out there. You can have all kind of thoughts and thinking about all different kind of things when you're out there in the heat of the moment. So I get it. If you can, you know, keep your mind quiet and literally if you can try to just focus on one shot at a time, because sometimes you're playing in a tournament and you might make a bogey, or you might be playing well and you're thinking, oh man, I got this par five that I know I can make birdie. You get ahead of yourself.
Mhm.
That definitely happens. But and I don't know why that particular week I was able to really stay in the moment. I mean, I really, every single shot I stayed in the moment, and like I said, I never even thought about winning the tournament.
That's incredible. Like that's actually I'm sure you do realize it, but like I don't know if you realize how incredible that is to be able to like to bring it from here and to get it into here. Um, Scott talks about it, but it's like a mental scorecard is the way he keeps track of it, right? Where you're ticking the boxes on making sure that you had a perfect process every single time. And that week it sounds like you would add 100% mental scorecard, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's and like I said, people ask me like, well, why that week? I don't know. I mean, you never know when it's going to be your week.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'd been trending in the right direction. It wasn't like I was playing bad, but I just hadn't put it all together. And I think that was mainly probably the final thing mentally that helped me just play three solid rounds. And I played well on Sunday, because I've had some chances throughout the year where I was in the second to last group on Sunday, but just like you said, your mind's going all over the place. You're a little bit nervous. Things move a little bit faster than you want to.
Hmm.
That was another thing that I did. I really slowed down everything, and I think that kind of helped too.
Yeah, I would imagine it does. We had Christian Heavens on here a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about probably the importance of scar tissue. I think as much as it sucks, like I have a ton of instances in it. I know he does. I think if you play competitive golf long enough, you're going to build some of it.
Yeah,
He was talking about the importance of having that to be able to eventually win and learn from those mistakes to move on.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, cool. Moving forward here, I kind of just wanted to talk about what you feel like are the biggest either skill or mental differences that you see. I mean, you've played at every level, right? From college golf into prepping for Q school and playing all over the world, right? You've played Alps Tour, you've played everywhere.
Yeah,
What do you see are kind of the biggest differences between all the different levels, if you could sum that up?
the differences.
Yeah, just skill
W-
wise, mental wise. I mean, of
w-
course the courses are going to be different, but you know,
Well, um, I always tell my buddies too. So, when I made it through the Q school for the Champions Tour,
hmm
it's only five spots. And my first year, it didn't take me long to realize, um, the first few tournaments, playing with guys out on the Champions Tour, uh, just most of the guys have played the PGA Tour forever. So,
right.
and I never really played the PGA Tour. I played a handful of tournaments, played one US Open, but I probably played eight or nine PGA Tour events. So, what I've learned is the short game, I think, is really the key for a lot of the guys. And I learned really quick that my short game was horrible compared to the guys on the Champions Tour. You know, uh, these guys have shots around the greens that aren't easy, and they're making them, or they make it look really routine. So that was one of the main things that I learned really quick. After about my third or fourth week, I was like, my short game needs to get a lot better. At times I'm okay, but just really inconsistent and just not comfortable. So just mentally, a lot of the guys on the Champions Tour, they don't do anything that they aren't comfortable doing. They hit their shot and it's pretty steady. It's boring golf, fairway green, try to make a putt. If they miss the green, they're getting it up and down. So, um, if you only can hit cut shots, hit cut shots. Don't try to hit a draw. So they play to their strengths. So that's one of the main things that, and I've learned that over the years of playing, but especially on the Champions Tour.
Yeah.
Um, it's just the short game is what really separates guys. in, from winning and not winning.
So it's really interesting you say that, and I'd like to dive into it a little bit more because you're the first person. I was talking to my friends not too long ago. You're the first person to bring up short game, and I've been shocked it hasn't been brought up by anybody yet. So I think that's really interesting. Whenever you are making the short game practice, like what does that look like for you? Is it technical? Is it skill development? Is it, I need to be able to hit a low skipper a little bit better, bread and butter shot? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's all of that. For me personally, there were some fundamental things that I had to clean up a little bit,
Okay.
to, to where I could gain confidence in hitting certain shots. Um, but I think with the short game, um, when it comes with just having a lot of confidence, you see guys short side themselves, and it's no big deal. Like playing with KJ Choi, like his bunker game is unbelievable. Like you see shots and guys get around the green, and I was like, man, what would I do here? And these guys make it look like it's simple.
Hmm.
But for my practice, what I do is at home. What helps me just the whole game is I'll play one ball best ball, which you have to, you hit two tee shots and you go to the worst one and you hit two tee shots, and then like when you miss a green, you have to get it up and down twice for it to count. Usually I only do it for nine holes. My best score is like 37. And that's really good because
That's
if you hit it in the
really
bunker,
good.
yeah. So, but I've only done that one time. It makes you grind. So that's one of the things that I do at home. Um, and you try to make practice hard. You get these, really hard up and down shots, and you just practice and you just gain confidence. Just working on certain shots that you aren't good with, like, whether it be bunker shots, flop shots, bump and runs, whatever the case may be, because you're going to face those shots in the tournament. You don't know when you're going to have them, but you just need to be prepared to have them when they come up, because from what I've learned in golf, whether if it's putting, chipping, whatever the weakest point is, if you're, it just seems to me over the years I've learned, like I went through a point where I was not putting very well, and missing 4 and 5 footers, and it seems like when I play in a tournament, those are the putts that I had all the time.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, you have to work on that stuff all the time.
Yeah, I just started laughing because I have historically struggled with bunker play, and I could go 2 weeks of practice without ever hitting it into a bunker, and then the first tournament round I hit it in five of them. And it's just like
Exactly.
it's the, I mean, I swear there's something to it. Like you get in tournaments and it just happens. Like you're not even thinking about it either. It's just like it's just where it goes.
Yep, yep. That's just golf, man. It'll get you. My coach used to always say, he says he'd always say this in college. He's like, the part of the game that you neglect is the part that'll show up in tournaments.
So it's so true. That is
Yes,
so true.
yes.
So, in your practice, are you doing a lot of technical work? Are you doing a lot of skill work? Is it a bit of a blend? Like, what is, you're out there getting some work done today. Like, what did your day look like today for practice?
Today, it was a lot of just I have a quad, so it was a lot of just wedge distances, just
Okay.
dialing in some distance, 50, 60, 70, 80 yards. I probably did about an hour and a half of that, and then about an hour of just 4 footers putting. That's
Really?
I just
Yeah.
putted for an hour, just making 4 footers. That's all I did.
Are you a clock method guy when it comes to your distance control, or how do you control your distance with your wedges?
Yeah, I'm a clock guy. I'm a
Yeah.
clock guy. It's for me, it just helps me, just dial it in a little bit better. I know some people aren't, but whatever works for you, to get to hit those numbers consistently, you have to do it. But whether it's feel or a clock system, whatever you might have. But yeah, I'm definitely a clock guy.
So, obviously now maybe not as much of a sore subject, but I like to bring it up because I think there's probably a lot of value in it. You've had a couple of close misses at Houston in the past, and obviously now you've made it through and you're being very successful. What was the difference for you in terms of being able to make it through Champions Tour Q School, and did that come up in the back of your mind when you were there?
Um, so in 2000. I missed at when you could get your PGA Tour card. I missed by a
Mhm.
shot um at the 2000 Q school. So at that time, uh I didn't know, there wasn't scoreboards and stuff all, up,
Mm.
and I didn't know where I stood going in that last hole. I just bogeyed a par three. So I'm thinking I needed to make birdie.
Yeah.
And all I needed was bogey.
Yeah.
Um, but it didn't cross my mind until after it was done, because at the Champions Tour school, because
Yeah.
I'm on the last hole. I don't know if you've ever been out to Arizona. The last hole at out in Arizona at the TPC course. It's not where they play the waste management. It's the course across the street. Well, the
Yep.
18th hole is probably the hardest hole on the golf course. There's water left, and there's a bunker on the right side of the fairway, and it gets narrow. So I can't hit driver there. I can, but it's narrow. So it's a hole where you hit like, for me, I have to hit like a 5 wood or something. And I keep it short of the bunker, and then hit like a 7 or 6 iron onto the green. So, um, I made birdie on my 17th hole, and then I tee off, hit the fairway, and then my next shot was on the green. So meanwhile, my playing partner hit a second shot in the water. So I didn't really think about this until after it was over, but my friends at home were watching. No, they were looking at the scoreboard. They
Hmm.
saw where I was because there's live scoring, and it took a while for my playing partner to go through his drop and everything. And then my buddy was like, man, they were freaking out. They thought, they didn't know if I hit it in the water. They didn't know it was gone because it took they're waiting for that last
Yeah.
hole, the post, par or whatever. And it took like probably 25 minutes for him to go through all this stuff. And then that's the first thing my buddy said. He's like, man, I didn't know. He's like, I didn't know if you hit it in the water. I was freaking out. But I didn't think about that until he said that. I was like, you know what? I was just so zoned out on what I had to do. I didn't even think about that until he mentioned it. Um, so my head was in the right place. Obviously, I wasn't thinking about what happened in
Yeah.
the past, but yeah, looking back on that now, it sucked at Q school in 2000, and then it happened again in 2004 where I needed birdie on the last hole, and I just missed. But to miss twice from getting my PGA Tour card, yeah, it was tough, man. But it's all good now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I think I I just love your story. I just think it's really cool, and obviously with the win, it makes it even better, and feels like things are trending up. But one of the big things, and for me, this kind of shows that one of the big things that Sully and Christian both mentioned as being one of our big five is timing. In terms of people who either make it or don't make it, it's just kind of playing well at the right time. Kind of
Yeah.
sounds like you would agree with that sentiment.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
it's it's all about timing. Q school is all about timing, because it's over the years when always watch Q school, you see guys, when there was a Hooters tour and all these other tours going on, you see guys win the money list. They have a really good year, and then when it gets to Q school, they miss it first stage.
Yep.
So timing is Q school. You have to play good for those 3 months pretty much.
Yeah.
And you can have a great year early and then miss at Q school, or you can like get off to a slow start and then you're playing good at the right time. And that's what makes Q school so hard, because I mean, everyone's good, and you're just trying to get through, but it's Q school is different than a regular tournament. It always has been. It's almost like you're playing not to mess up. That's
Yeah.
what it feels like.
Yeah. Do you think there's anything to being able to peak that time of year? Like for me, it just kind of feels like if you're hot, you're hot. But like, do you think there's anything that you found over the years that helps you be more prepared going into Q school or a week like that?
Um, it's easier said than done, but I mean,
Mhm.
you just have to embrace it. I mean, you
Yeah.
know what it is. Everyone's nervous. It's just one of those things where you have to look at it as a tournament. What I tried to do at least the last month of like August, I tried to when I played in tournaments, I try to pretend like it was Q school if I could.
Mm.
Where Q school, I always tell my buddies that they ask me their first time going to Q school, like what advice can I get them as far as being nervous. I was like, man, it's like you go out there and play your best, but just try to avoid making big mistakes. You don't want to make doubles in any tournament, but especially not Q school. You make a double, it takes two birdies to get it back. So if you get in trouble, you know, if you can't make par, just try to get a bogey and move on to the next hole. Because you start making big numbers, it's hard to get through, especially, you might make it through first stage, but second and final stage, I mean, you have to really play well. And uh, it's one of those things, and I know I keep saying it, but you really just have to play within yourself
Yeah.
and be very, very patient and kind of take what the course gives you.
Yeah. So I'm starting to develop a bit of a theory here, and I kind of want to get your take on it. What do you think is more important, making birdies or avoiding bogeys? In terms of just like, let's say you're having a full season on tour, not particularly huge school, but like, full season.
I'm always going to go with making birdies.
See, that's what mine is too. And like I'm a guy who can make 7 birdies and shoot even par. Like it's just ridiculous. But
Welcome to my life.
yeah, I mean, my my buddy and I here in town, also named Sully, funnily enough, uh, I made, I don't know, like 12 or 13 birdies in a 2 round 4 ball tournament and we won. But I also made like 4 doubles. And it's just
Yeah.
like, that's just kind of my game. And I kind of feel like I've noticed some of the guys are almost avoiding, like they just plot their way around differently. And I was curious if you've seen any of that where it just feels like, maybe they're not taking on as much and they're kind of avoiding the bogeys and they're just plotting their way.
So, you know, I'm always going to go with making birdies. That's how I've always played, even as a junior golfer, like even as an amateur. Did just like you just said, when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, especially, I would go out and make 7 birdies and shoot two over, 8 birdies and shoot one under. That happened all the time. My buddies would, even on Champions Tour, like some of my buddies would say, "Do you know you made more birdies than the guy that won the tournament?"
Hmm.
And like I'll finish like 20th. And it's like, so it's, obviously you don't want to make doubles, but I've always been an aggressive player. Um, I'm always going to shoot at the flag stick. So what I've learned too, what I've had a buddy of mine, he told me we were more than halfway through the season. He was like, I want you to play super conservative. He's like, I don't want you to shoot at any flags for the rest of the year. Give me a fair shot, and then um, he was like, you will win. He was like, unless you just have a really good number with a wedge, he was like, middle of the green. He said, but you got to give me a fair shake. And he said, within 8 tournaments, you'll probably have a win. So I gave him a fair shake at doing that, and I won in 10 tournaments. Yeah.
So maybe there is some validity to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you just can't make it's the stupid bogeys.
Mhm.
You can't make bogeys with a 9 iron or 8 iron in your hand. If you're hitting the middle of the green and if you putt pretty good, it's going to be hard to make bogeys. So
Yeah.
for me, um, I'm not as aggressive, so I don't aim at the pins, even if it's a really good number, or if I'm not feeling well, just hit the middle of the green, and then that'll flush, that'll take out some of those bogeys, and then you shoot one or two under, and then if you get hot, then you might have one of those 8 or 9 under rounds.
Do you feel like it also helps get rid of the need for momentum? Like for me personally, I've had a number of times where I could be playing terrible and then I birdie like 4 out of my last 6 to make the cut, right? But
Yeah.
like I'm such a momentum player with I can make a lot of birdies, but I can also like just make a bunch of terrible bogeys. Do you feel like playing more conservative helps eliminate the need for some momentum a little bit?
Yeah, it does, and I think just like you're saying, I I I know I can make birdies, and I am a momentum player too. I
Yeah.
cannot be playing well, and then once I make that one birdie
Yes.
and I get some momentum going my way, it
Yeah.
changes everything. It
Yeah.
changes everything. Um, So yeah, it's I think, if we can play more conservative and and then just kind of wait for that run, because my caddy used to always say, just wait to go on your run, and then I just have to be patient. And I'm not. That's something that I have to work on too, is being patient. I'm not very patient at all.
Yeah,
So
same.
yeah, but yeah, I've always had the ability to make birdies. I don't know why or what the case may be, um, but I just have to play smart, aggressive, and not attack all the time.
Yeah, no, I've been doing some like stat research, and Scott Fawcett made a post about it, but then I really started looking into it. There's a college coach out there, and Scott actually took some flack for this, but there's a college coach out there that in qualifying doesn't let his players use their birdies.
Huh?
So, which is I think is insane. But he basically like as like a training drill, like won't let them use their birdies, meaning, their qualifying score is their goal is bogey avoidance. So you have to look up the clip on Instagram or I'll send it to you. There's a college, one of the best college coaches in the country that doesn't allow in some qualifyings for their players to use their birdies.
Huh. So so they have to play super safe then.
They have to play with quality strategy or have a hell of a short game, one or the
I
other.
guess I
Yeah.
guess that's one way to look at it. That might work for some players. I mean, I
Yeah.
get that. I get that. Yeah, I never even thought about doing that. I guess that's okay sometimes.
I think it's good as a drill. For me personally, I don't think I could do it all the time, but I think
No.
maybe it's sort of like a drill here and there to kind of like get in that mindset.
Yeah, yeah. Because one of the most gratifying things for me is playing around and having a clean card. I love that. And I watch, a lot of the PGA Tour guys. I think Justin Thomas did the Zozo, the 72 holes. I think he had one bogey. Like, that's crazy.
That
You
is
know, you
crazy.
you you hear he ended up losing by a shot, but you think about it, if you can play, whether it's 36 holes or 54 or 72, and if you only have like two or three bogeys, that's pretty strong. For guys like myself and you, if you make a lot of birdies, if you play a tournament and you only make like, a couple of bogeys, you're probably going to win the tournament.
Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 Well, like it's for me, it's like if I can ever just avoid the two or three like hot pulls that I hit in a round and I just don't have it, I'll play very well. And I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah.
up there in contention. But like it's even like so I've never had a bogey free round. Like I've done Bryson's thing. I've shot even my round where I shot 59 from the red tees. I
Uh,
had two bogeys. Like,
what?
yeah, I never had a bogey free round. So it just kind of got me thinking, I'm like, man, there has to be something to this. Like,
Maybe you need to start doing that drill.
I might. But yeah, so that's interesting that maybe that helped play into your win a little bit. I want to come back here now. We've talked about a couple of the key elements, but we're kind of building out this list, right, of things that you know players are saying. We started out with Scott. Now we have some really great players to play on the PGA Tour or to play, maybe at the next level. His first one was 180-mile-an-hour ball speed. Christian and Ryan and James Colin Davis all disagreed. They said it's above 170, but definitely not as high as 180. What's your take on that? You think you need all that speed, PGA Tour?
it, it's good to have that speed, but absolutely, I agree with them. You don't have to have 180-mile-an-hour ball speed. I mean, if yeah, I would say, yeah, you probably have to be in the if your ball speed is uh I'll say north of 172 or 3 or 4, I think that's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine. I mean, there's a lot to be said for hitting it where you're looking. Yeah, it definitely helps, but it's not the end all be all. You still have to chip and putt.
yeah. Does speed matter at all on your tour? Like I assume, are you one of the longer guys out there, or
Yeah, so I've played with Stuart Sink still moves it out there really good.
yeah,
Podrick moves it really good.
yeah,
There's Retief Goosen moves it out pretty good. Angel Cabrera, same thing. But I'm right there too.
yeah.
It does matter. That was the other thing when I was telling you about short game. Some guys, I mean, there's only a handful of us that hit it out there, but there's a lot of guys that don't, and we're 50, 60 yards in front of them, but they're shooting great numbers too.
I tell you, whenever I watched Bernhard Langer play with Padraig here in town, I was like blown away by how his approach shot, like how his approach game was. Like it was a joke. I like he was in the final group with Padraig. Obviously, he's playing well, but he's played well a lot on the Champions Tour over the last few years. Like,
Yes. He was one of the guys I was thinking about. So Bernhardt, don't let him fool you with his driver. He's not that short. But he I've played with him 5 times and I finally beat him on a Saturday round in Virginia where I won. And I played with him the last time before that I played with him in Michigan the last day, and he shoots the easiest 65 ever. And he beats his age by a shot. And he's a tactician. He hits it to a spot. And if he gets a wedge in his hand, it's around the hole and he makes a putt. I mean, he knows where to hit it, and he knows what he's doing out there. And that's for a lot of the guys. And they're just smart in how they play. He's been doing it forever.
yeah,
So it's the guy works out all the time, and I don't know what else to say. Guys are like, how does he do it? I was like, he's just good. I mean, he just plays boring golf. Hits it in the fairway, hits it on the green, and makes a putt, and moves on. I mean, it's pretty simple. He's it's unbelievable, man. A guy to be 66 years old and still shooting the numbers that he's shooting.
yeah. He's so good. And you mentioned Padraig. He's one that I would love to have on the show someday. How is he to play with? Is he a pretty cool dude? Seems like.
Yes, yeah, he is. He is, and he's just solid too. I wouldn't. He's one of the guys that um you know the right tournament, he probably could definitely still win on the PGA Tour for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
He's
yeah, he's
long, right? Like he's still
he
like
is. Yeah,
long.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's all about the speed. He
He
doesn't. I'll
is,
just say
man.
this: he doesn't hold anything back when he hits his driver at all.
No. No. I've been seeing all the crazy stuff he's been doing with all the
Yeah,
steps and the super speed and the
yeah,
man, he
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he can definitely move it still, 100%.
yeah. No, that's pretty cool. So the next one I think is one that I've already cemented, but it's excellent lag putting. I think everybody has to have excellent lag putting. That was on the list. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's one of the things that um you know lag putting is a definitely a key to three putt avoidance.
Yeah.
Um, I work on that too. Just hitting a lot of long putts, and that was one reason why today for like an hour I worked on 4 and 5 footers. Um,
Hmm.
just making sure that you're solid. You know, within that range. Usually I don't hit. I do hit lag puttings, but if you're pretty solid from 6 feet and in, um, I feel like I'm gonna do fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that one I think everybody agrees with. The next part is a lot of it's mental. Mental is kind of the bucket, but one of them is staying present, which meditation, which you've already said is a critical part of your win. The other part is still under a little bit of development, which is, a little bit of self-belief, and then the other part is kind of just having an understanding of your game, which, I think you would agree both are incredibly important.
Yeah. You have to own your own game, and your swing. And I was listening to, Ryan talk about how he's worried about what the best hub guy was saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I mean, look at Jim Furyk's swing. You think he
Hmm.
cares about what his swing looks like? It's just one of those things where, you have that self-belief and you know that your swing works for you, and you just have to go out there and play. As long as that ball's going where you want it to go, it doesn't even matter what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've talked about a lot of the things that are positive. If there are anything you think that kind of holds guys back that you've seen over the years, what would that be?
Um, I think I think maybe trying too hard. That's always been one of the things where I think that, I think you can want something too bad and you kind of get in the way instead of just playing.
Yeah.
Like for me, I know that I have the game to win, but sometimes you just have to just play golf, and then whatever happens, happens. Like in Virginia, I was so focused on just hitting every shot the best way that I could. And normally when I'm out there playing, if you're playing well, the cameras start showing up. And I was telling one of my buddies too, like I didn't even notice the cameras. Didn't even notice the cameras were
Wow.
there. Um, and you just really have to, that's why this game is so mental. You have to stay in the moment. And like when I'm practicing, just don't rake and hit balls. You put a ball up and you go through your pre-shot every time. I think that's one of the things that helped me too. Just going through having a solid pre-shot routine and everything's the same. And if you can do that and your rhythm stays the same and you aren't thinking about outside stuff except the shot at hand.
So that's interesting. So whenever you're like in practice and in prep mode, you're not like everyone always says, don't just rake balls over, but you're doing like out there actively doing your pre-shot routine.
Yes, yes, yes. I
Yeah.
don't just rake and hit.
Yeah.
I rake, and then I'll go through my pre-shot as if I'm in a tournament, and then same thing. That way, you might not hit as many balls, but it's more quality practice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So obviously been super helpful as we wrap up here. I just kind of wanted to talk about what the future holds. I know you mentioned Hawaii coming up, but kind of just wanted to talk about what future looks like for you.
Yeah, so with the win, I get to go to Hawaii, which is a limited field event. You kind of get a head start on the season, and I leave January 8th. My first time going to Hawaii ever, so
Oh, wow.
that's why I'm doing some work now, just kind of stay sharp. I want to play in a 3-day tournament in Orlando after the first of the year, and still working on short game, and then leave for Hawaii on the 11th, and plan to have a good week. And then after that, we have Morocco. So we're going back to Morocco, which is a really nice tournament. They charter all the guys over there from Miami, and so I'm looking at 2025, and still building on what I did last year, and trying to make my weak points in my game, my strengths, and just grinding, man, just grinding every day. When the weather's nice at least, and just trying to get ready for 2025.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, man. I appreciate the time. This has been super helpful, and I appreciate you taking the time. Let's get back to practice.
Anytime, man. Love to be
Cool.
back on here.
Thanks, brother.
All right, man.
Bye.
Later.